itself for any kind of serious confrontation with Israel.
Despite this less intense preparation, on Sunday, May 14, 1967, Egypt made its move. President Nasser deployed his troops in the Sinai Desert and then closed the Straits of Tiran. Israel's access to the Red Sea was cut. The Middle East was on the brink of war.
They thought this is it. This is the confrontation that we've been waiting for years.
Israel responded by mobilizing its reserve army. But by Saturday, June 3rd, still no attack had been launched. And Israeli news media was reporting that many soldiers had been sent home for the weekend.
You don't send people home like a day or two before a war. What is this? They have to, to train themselves. They have to be there. You cannot allow yourself releasing them for the weekend when you plan a war to the beginning of the week.
Was Israel dropping its guard? Or had Operation Moked been shelved? Which side would fire the first shots of war? On the morning of Monday, June 5th, 1967, Israel fired the first shots in what would be the Six-Day War. Egypt was hit by a massive preemptive airstrike. Squadrons of Israeli jet fighters swooped down on Egyptian air bases.
Each one in the formation knew exactly where to aim and where the bombs should hit. And luckily enough, this 5th of June, there was no wind whatsoever. So wherever you aimed, the bombs went this way.
We had to pull the airplane up in order to gain altitude around 8,000 to 9,000 feet. And then we dived over the target and released the bombs.
The first target for Sever's Mirage fighter jet was Bir Tamata Airfield in the Sinai. Camped alongside the airfield was Essam Daraz, a captain in the Egyptian 4th Armored Division.
When I hear this strange, hard sound for jets, I wait and I get out the tent without my shoes, and I looked, and it was Mirage. 2 Mirage.
The Egyptian Air Force was caught cold. In the first wave of attacks, 11 air bases were obliterated.
All the Egyptian aircraft destroyed, and no one aircraft could make the off because runways destroyed.
The Israeli plan of targeting runways first had worked perfectly. Unable to take off, Egyptian aircraft were sitting ducks.
I would say the success was beyond our thoughts, beyond what we expected.
How had the Egyptians been caught so unaware? Just 2 days before, the Israelis had appeared to be coming off the high state of alert.
Anyone in London can pick up the Jerusalem Post, and that means everyone in every Arab capital knows that the Israeli army is stood down and getting a little bit of swimming practice in.
Had the decision to send Israeli soldiers home for the weekend caused the Egyptians to relax their guard?
You use as much deception as you can possibly apply so that the Egyptians will be looking elsewhere when the blow comes.
Conventional military planning pointed to dawn being the ideal time for an attack.
Traditionally, this is when you start a war in order to use the sun to be in the eyes of the defending enemy. So if you attack from east to the west, you do it in the morning, so he has his sun in his eyes.
At dawn, the Egyptian Air Force would be in a high state of alert, but not for long.
You have a high dawn readiness, which is normal. Then the tension goes down, people go to breakfast, things happen, shifts are changed.
This was the time to catch them on the ground, unfueled, when they almost totally vulnerable.
But how did the Israelis know what this time would actually be?
To succeed in such an operation, you need 3 things: intelligence, intelligence, and intelligence.
Intelligence gathered on the Egyptian Air Force routine was critical.
the routine of activity. Was detected mainly by listening to the nets of communications between the planes and the ground.
So you take the routine and you see that 7:45 is the best time to catch the enemy not organized enough against our attack.
At 7:45 a.m., virtually the entire Egyptian Air Force would be on the ground. Israel exploited this weakness.
This is the smartest decision in preparation of the 67 war.
Add to that the intense training of its pilots, and Israel was able to quickly gain the upper hand.
We knew almost everything which was going on the other side. Where was the real aircraft parking? Where were the dummies parking? Where are the munition storage? Where are the bomb storages? We knew everything.
Intelligence had revealed when and where the Egyptian Air Force was most vulnerable. But how did pilots like Yalo Shavit and Dan Sever avoid being detected by Arab early warning stations?
We needed to fly below the radar coverage. No communication, no radio, no nothing. Silence, total silence. You, the aircraft and the ground, flying like crazy.
Israeli aircraft approached Egypt flying fast and low over the Mediterranean, 500 miles per hour at an altitude of just below 100 feet.
If you are not cautious, you get very close to the water's level. And this is very, very dangerous.
There's nothing in the world beside you watching the horizon, watching the direction, and that's all. All your muscles are stressed, you're in total concentration, and you don't look around. When you do this or that, that's a mistake. You might, in the split of a second, touch the water. And once you touch the water, this was it. Down you go.
These calculated risks and elaborate deceptions paid off. The vital element of surprise had been kept intact until the very last moment. Shavit approached his target flying a Super Mystère fighter.
We are standing in front of the large air intake of the Super Mystère B2, which this huge intake was required to suck a lot of air into the engine when you operated the afterburner. And this is the gun sight camera. No cheating anymore. This was it. Whenever you push the trigger, the camera took the picture, and this came back to the debriefings.
The recent addition of the gun sight camera meant Air Force commanders could rapidly evaluate just how successful the first wave of attacks had been. Dan Sever's pilot's logbook reveals that he would fly a further 2 missions that day. Many pilots would complete 5 by nightfall on June 5th.